Hello. Okay, so this is your wellness scan. So the first chart that it pulls up is the lifestyle chart. So this gives you a snapshot of how you're doing in these specific areas. So physical activity, environment, regimen of the day, nutrition, psychology, and hormonal activity. So anything that's highlighted red we want to focus on. So this could have meant a little bit more sunlight, get outside, do some more grounding. And then psychology, just how you're feeling and how you're navigating stress, basically. So this is the first scan that we did. We're going to go through all of them and then look at the scans after the training. Now, also, I want you to keep in mind after the training, like you took in a lot. And when you take in a lot of vibration and also information, and you're out of your normal routine, it can impact your body in different ways. And all of the vibration is kind of breaking up the dense energy. So sometimes after a lot of vibration, the chakras are kind of wonky and then they'll start to balance out. But we're going to go through everything bit by bit. Okay, so this is your energy field. So this is your biofield, which expands 4 or more feet out beyond your physical body. It's believed that things are in our energy field before they get to our physical body. So we want to try to keep our energy field pretty clear. So this here is definitely your nails where you see the kind of red spike here. I remember there were a couple of nails where it showed up in the scan. So don't worry about the red on the outside. The only red you want to really pay attention to is when it's inside of this blue here. So essentially what we want is for this light blue to be pretty consistent. So when you see the discoloration here, like this darker blue shade, that's dense energy in your energy field. So you see like in here, that's dense energy. So like, for example, like here's pretty smooth and then you have all of the darker blue in here, that's dense energy. But then when it gets to the color here, that's probably physical pain. So this is on the left side of your body. I can't really tell if it's like your shoulder or even heart chakra. Sometimes we have so much weighing on our heart, it can create physical pain in our chest, but it could also be like elbow or arm. So sometimes this specific chart doesn't give us like super accurate depictions of like where the pain is, but this is typically an indication of physical pain. So then when there's dips in here, there used to be this graphic that circulated social media that showed like rips and tears in your energy field. We can actually see that on these charts. So it looks like really the back of your heart chakra is kind of, I'm feeling like this is some heart chakra stuff and it's on the left side and is probably pertaining to your mom. And then we hold the emotions that we don't want to share in the back of our chakras. So we don't want to share it with the world. So we hold it in our back. But there's things that are leaking energy from your energy field. So we'll dive into that more. But essentially, what we want to do is make sure we're like closing up any energetic holes or energy hooks, energy drains, things like that, because you don't want your energy leaking out and you also don't want things to be able to ease their way in there. So then when you see spikes, that means excess energy. So like these kind of spiky points here, that is excess energy. There's a lot kind of around the crown chakra. So we want it to just be like smooth. And as we do this work, it'll start to break up the dense energy in our energy fields in our physical body. and things will start to smooth out. And so the discoloration here, that's just dense energy, there's definitely more, it looks like, going on the left side than the right side, but there are like spiky, there's a lot of spikiness on the right side too. So doing your energy work, playing your bowls on your own body, taking those Epsom salt baths, really listening to your body and releasing the things that are no longer serving you. Lots of grounding and just really paying attention to how you feel. And a lot of this should start to clear up. Okay. So let's dive into your chakras. So what I like to do with the chakras is just go back and forth between these three. So the reason why I do 3 scans is because our energy is always moving. Our chakras should be rotating clockwise. And so what we're doing when we do a scan is taking a snapshot of where your chakras are and then seeing how they're rotating. So I'll go back and forth between all 3 charts and go chakra by chakra to show you how it's rotating. So I always start with the root chakra. Also, before I get started, if you notice the woman is sitting like this, so she's kind of flipped around. So everything on the left side of the screen is masculine energy. So that's the right side of the body, left side of the screen. But you can see where it says extrovert. So extrovert, that's masculine. So then everything on the right side of the screen is actually the left side of the body. So you'll see it says introvert because the person is reversed. Okay, so starting at the root chakra. So root chakra is at 5.7 joules. We measure energy in joules. The same way we measure liquid in ounces, we measure energy in joules. And our chakras should be between 4 and 6 joules. So 5.7 is actually pretty good. But let's look at all 3. So another thing, if you could see the green line here, where this is yellow and this is kind of like a reddish color, we want the chakras rotating within that green. Because I remember Anne asked, I believe she asked if they should be straight. I think when there's illustrations of chakras, they show the chakras being balanced, them being like super straight. But the thing is, we are energetic beings where we're emotional. Things happen throughout our day, and we're in different environments that'll impact our energy in different ways. So typically, no one's chakras are completely straight all the time. So I think when they're balanced, they may be like rotating like within that green, kind of like this. And so it'll look pretty straight, but the first woman that I trained with on the BioWell device said if someone's chakras are like completely straight and they're not moving, they're probably a sociopath. And it took me a few years before I came across anyone whose chakras were completely straight. But usually like they don't have like normal emotions, like a normal regular feeling person, because life impacts us, right? Like we're here for the human experience, and that includes a wide variety of emotions. So we want the chakras to be moving, but within the green. So when they start getting out of the green, that's when the chakras are out of balance. Okay, so let's go chakra by chakra, starting at the root chakra. So looking at the root chakra here, it is out of balance on the masculine side. It comes over to the feminine, but not as much as the masculine side. So you see this one here, it's kind of out of balance. Like these two are not bad, but then it pulls a little bit more to the masculine side. So root chakra controls home, safety, stability, security. So when it's out of balance on the masculine side, the thing that would bring it more to the feminine is allowing. So allowing support, allowing help, feeling supported and safe. So a move can definitely impact the root chakra because it's home, it's safety, stability, also finances. So feeling supported, feeling safe, allowing support in, because feminine energy is flow, allowing, nurturing. So allowing nurturing, allowing support, allowing help, that will help shift that root chakra more into the feminine. So, some really good questions to reflect on is where can I allow more support? Where can I allow more nurturing? Allowing people to nurture me, because I would imagine you're a very nurturing person to others, but how can you allow someone to nurture and support you? So let me know how that lands. Oh, that's interesting. So your sacral chakra, the first thing that I noticed is that it didn't move between these two charts. Like you see how it's just stuck, but then it does move a little bit. So that's interesting. So there's a little bit of stuck energy in your sacral chakra, and it's on the masculine. So when things are kind of stuck in the masculine, specifically for sacral chakra. So sacral chakra controls creativity, passion, pleasure, sensuality, sexuality, and it being like stuck right there would tell me that the the things that you do that should be for your enjoyment is more external facing. So creativity wise, if you create, you're creating what you think others would like. If it's fun, you are doing what may be fun to others. If it's something pertaining to even like pleasure, maybe you derive pleasure from pleasing others, seeing others pleased. So the thing that I invite people to reflect upon with this is what really lights you up, what really brings you joy, what really turns you on, that has nothing to do with anyone else. So usually when I have women that are parents that have their sacral chakra stuck in the masculine, I ask them, when's the last time you've done something for yourself? And so sometimes they'll be like, oh, we just went on vacation, but they chose the vacation that their partner wanted or their children wanted and not necessarily where they wanted to go. Or if they feel sexy, it's what their husbands find sexy and not when they just feel sexy for themselves and within themselves. So it's a lot of external facing energy. But I will say it does come over to the feminine. It's just stuck a little bit. So it's not like that bad, but it is something to keep an eye on. But it does come over to the feminine. So there is some self-enjoyment and internal facing excitement, enjoyment. And this is your zest for life. So maybe, and I guess like I can say from what I know about your situation, there is a large portion of your life that is focused on taking care of others. And so it does make sense that it is very external facing for these two. But I think like you're still holding on to a little bit of like, okay, let me check in for what I need. And so I just want to say, like, make sure you're checking into what you need, what excites you, what fills your cup, because you don't want to lose sight of that. When I see people's zest for life go, I see their health start to decline. So just keeping an eye on the stuck energy here. Okay. So let me know how that lands. All right. The next one is, and that could be why this is stuck, because your solar plexus is completely stuck in the masculine. Like it doesn't come over into the feminine at all. and it is pretty out of balance here. So what this would tell me, typically when I have entrepreneurs or business owners that come into the studio and their solar plexus is stuck in the masculine, what this tells me is they are attaching their self-worth to their business, to productivity, to getting things done. And we live in a hustle culture anyway, so it's very easy to do that. But your self-worth is, and this is what the chart is saying, your self-worth is 100% external facing. So it's probably what you're doing for others, how you're making other people feel, what you're getting done, how you're adding value to others. But the problem with that is when you take all of that away, then it's like, who are you? What are you worth, right? So finding that internal self-worth to where if you did nothing for anyone at all, like go a whole entire day where you're not doing anything for anyone else, how would you feel? And knowing that you're still worthy, even if you weren't doing for others. So finding that value outside of doing for others. And I know that's hard. And I feel like, I had to do this exercise myself where like I attach a lot of my self-worth to my business. And I had to ask myself, like, if I closed my business, who would I be? And it was a hard exercise because at first I was like, I don't know, But then I had to be like, oh my God, I'm a great dancer. I'm a great aerialist. Like, there's so many amazing things about me that has nothing to do with my business. Now, at one point I had an aerial studio, so aerialist probably isn't the best example, but I have a lot of plants and I wouldn't say I have a green thumb, but like there's so many cool things about me that have nothing to do with my business. So if I decided to close my business, it's not like, well, what is Niajae worth because she doesn't have her business? Like there's still so much like amazingness about me, right? And then having that internal self-worth. And what I tell people that feel like they have to be productive, and if they take a day off or they take like a mental health day, they're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? That's our society. That's a lot of societal programming. But knowing that if you take a day just for yourself and you don't get anything done, you're still worthy, right? Like we have to detach the things that we attach our self-worth to external things. We have to find internal self-worth, and everything external is just a bonus. So this is a really hard one to like, I mean, it's a hard one to navigate and start to, I don't want to say fix because fix is not the right word. It's not about fixing. It's about discovering your internal self-worth. And obviously, everyone that is here in this time, space, and reality, in this human experience has worth, right? You're here. So finding that almost like divine love inside yourself to just know that like you are a worthy being no matter what. And that is like deep inner work to like be grounded in that. And so it does shape how we show up. Sometimes we attach ourselves to external things. And I remember I went through something really hard in my business and I thought my life was over. My therapist was like, Niajae, your life is not over because you're going through this hard thing in your business. But when all of my self-worth was wrapped up in my business. That's why I thought my life was over. And so I see this in marriages, I see this in being a mom or a parent in general. Like I've had clients that have like lost their child, which is so sad. I can't even imagine how that feels, but feeling like my whole life revolves around my children. And then if you, or like my family or my partnership, and then someone goes through a divorce or they're separated from their family or loses a child, then they feel like they can't live, right? It's kind of like, it's kind of like that. And not to say that we should find our worth outside of our family or partner or, the people that we love. So I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is sometimes we can have unhealthy attachments to those external things. So not saying not care about these things that we obviously care about, but knowing that we're divine, worthy beings internally, no matter what. And so, for the mom whose whole entire life revolves around her family, what do you like to do if you're not with your family? And usually the moms are like, well, I'm cooking for my family or shopping for my family or planning family vacations for my family. But it's like, go find a hobby that has nothing to do with your family. And that little thing makes a huge difference because it's a way that she's pouring into her cup that has nothing to do with her family. Because what I see is women will come back when they're empty nesters and they're like, I don't know who I am. Like, well, what do you like to do? I don't know. The last 18, 20 years, my whole entire identity was wrapped up in my kids. And now that they're off to college, what is my life? And I witness this so often. So finding something that is just for you, that nothing shifting externally will take that away, if that makes sense. All right, so let me know how that one lands. I know I got a little deep on that one. Okay, so let's talk about your heart chakra. So, very interesting. So, heart chakra is all in the masculine as well. But with the energy on the left side, I think this is just, I was going to say a wild guess, but it's not a wild guess because I know, you're the caretaker for your mom. And I think that there's a lot of pain, and I just got like a little chill. I think that there's a lot of pain there where it's almost like you're wanting to disconnect from that side, right? So left side is feminine energy, but that's also like mom, grandma, feminine, like the feminine energy in your life. So mom, grandmom, the women in your life, if you have a sister, like that kind of thing. So if there's pain attached to your mom, it's almost like your chakra, like it's not going over there because you don't want to access that pain. So the heart chakra is just like stuck in the masculine and it's not coming over into the feminine at all. It's avoiding the pain that you're feeling with your mom. And we have surface level pain, but then we also have a deeper level of pain. And see, there's a lot of like, you see this little kind of dip here. I think that there's stuff that you're holding on to in your heart, but there's like pain that you don't really want to access. So there's like the surface level pain, right? It's disappointing, it's hard, but there's some deeper stuff that you're holding on to that you don't really want to look at, is what the chart is telling me. But definitely, regardless of what I say, check in. How does that land in your body? Does it feel like truth to you? And that's what's most important. Okay. So same thing with your throat chakra. So really everything is just stuck in the masculine side because I think the feminine side is just so painful right now that it's almost like you don't even want to touch that. And feminine energy also, this just came to me, could have to do with like reproductive stuff, with like you being a mother. And I know that there's still grief. Um, there's still grief around losing your baby. And I'm sorry, this is like super sensitive stuff, but when things are out of balance, it's usually because there's some emotions that we're holding on to. So grief shows up in our heart chakra as well, and it being external facing versus internal. So we could have like, we can hold a grudge against someone or have like resentment or um anger external facing, which will show up on the masculine side, and then we could have like guilt that'll show up on the like feminine side, that's more like internal guilt and shame, but it is facing externally. So um it could be grief, it could be a block that you just don't want to access your feminine energy because there's a lot of pain there. So let me know how that lands. The throat chakra is also stuck in the masculine side. So the thing about the throat chakra is it's our communication. Um, but speaking what's really on our heart. And if you're not accessing what's on your heart here, you can only communicate that surface level. There's some deeper stuff that you're not accessing that is not you're not able to communicate if you're not accessing it, which creates stuck energy. So if you see this is 6.3 joules, our chakra should be between 4 and 6 joules. So 6.3 joules, your throat chakra is overactive because there's stuck energy here because you're not accessing what's weighing on your heart on this side. So there's just some stuck energy in your chest. You see how the throat chakra doesn't move much? There's stuck energy. So third eye, your third eye is, I mean, there's a point where it's like super balanced, which is great, but it doesn't come over into the feminine much. So when it's pulling more to the masculine, what that tells me is that your trust is external facing and not internal facing. So third eye is our intuition, it's our perspective, it's our inner trust. It's the lens in which we see the world, and it's external facing versus really trusting yourself. And I feel like you trust yourself, but I think that there's a certain level of trust where it's like stopping, right? So almost like you trust yourself on the surface, like you trust your intuition on the surface, but it kind of like there's a wall that you have to break through to really deepen your inner trust. But usually that comes from unlocking the really painful stuff we don't want to look at. And there's some stuff that like it's like locked away in Pandora's box, essentially. So I think the biggest thing is regulating your nervous system to even feel safe and comfortable enough to open up Pandora's box. Okay, so crown chakra is also out of balance. So the three chakras that I think were out of balance was root, heart, and crown. So those are three chakras that I would definitely recommend focusing on. So it's like the foundation, kind of the center, and crown chakra. So the crown chakra is actually out of balance on the feminine side, which is interesting with everything else being predominantly in the masculine. But anytime something is stuck in the feminine, let me look at this again. Okay, so it does go over into the masculine a little bit, but not much, not with how far it's pulling to the, I don't know, is my camera reversed? How much is pulling to the feminine side? Um, when that happens, I see that as a call to action. So masculine energy is taking action, making decisions, going after a goal. Like that's very masculine energy. So when the chakra is pulling more to the feminine, like stuck in the feminine, out of balance in the feminine, I see that as a call to action. So crown chakra controls our connection to the divine, our purpose, our divine guidance in our lifetimes, essentially. So, how can you take action towards your purpose? How can you take action towards what you feel you are called here to do? How can you trust that you're where you're meant to be? You're like, how can you take action towards the things that you feel like you're meant to do? Is what I see this communicating. So, yeah, those are your chakras. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how that landed. All right, so looking at stress, a little increased stress, but I mean, you traveled into town, for a training, so that is to be expected. Little bit of imbalance, but that happens in our bodies. So everything should be operating within the green. For the most part, everything looks pretty good. There's a little spikiness in the thyroid where it comes out of the green, but that's because of that spiked energy in your throat chakra. So definitely keep an eye on that. So there's a couple of little areas that are starting to peek out of the green. So it's nothing drastic, but just keep an eye on those. So mammary gland. So anytime I see this, oops, anytime I see the spikiness around this area, that's an indication of a mother wound. The thyroid, the spike in the thyroid is definitely because of the blocked energy in the throat chakra. Sacrum, we hold a lot of anger in our sacrum, just unprocessed anger. The thing that I recommend for anger, I like to go to the gym and the ropes, and I slam them on the ground and just like slam them and just I get out all my frustration. But it's a healthy way to process anger. So all of the things that I'm angry about, and I just like start going through it in my head, and then like I just feel it like bubbling up to the surface, and I'm just like slamming on the ground, like slamming the ropes on the ground, and no one looks at you weird because that's what, the ropes are for. And there's other ways, some people like to run, some people like to kickbox, some people like to, I don't know, go to smash rooms, but those can get pretty pricey. Like having something in your routine that can help you process anger. And there's so much wisdom in our anger. And I know as females, we're taught to be ladylike. So a lot of times we haven't processed our anger because we suppress it, but that's when it impacts our physical body. All right, looking at this one. So anything highlighted means there's more than a 20% imbalance between the left and the right side of the body. And as we go throughout our day, like we lean more to one side than the other. So like things will be off balance here or there. We write with one hand and So it happens, but ideally we want to try to create as much balance in the body as possible. Okay, so I was looking at these. So overall, your systems look pretty good. Respiratory system is the only one, but that's because of the mammary gland and the throat, and that's that stuck energy here. So playing your bowl on your heart chakra and also like trying to get as high towards the throat as possible. But this is also very common in a lot of charts. We have so much weighing on our hearts these days. Like life is already intense and then we deal with, other things that it just feels heavy. And so that energy is like stuck here. So journaling and breathing into your chest, playing your bowl on your chest, that's going to help process some of that energy. So your meridians actually look pretty good. That's great. Okay, this is September. Yes. All right. This is your biorhythm. So this is how the moon cycle is impacting you. So the 0 here is your baseline. This is your normal energy without anything messing with it. The numbers down here are the days of the month. And each line means, so the red line means physical cycle. Green line is emotional cycle, blue is intellectual cycle. So when your physical cycle is up, this is a really good time to move your body. So it looks like this month, like you are just rocking it this month. You should be feeling really good because all of your cycles are up. Now towards the 17th, 18th, everything will start to take a dip. So when things start coming below your baseline, when the red cycle is down, this is a time to really listen to your body. Don't push yourself because you're more prone to injury or illness. When the green cycle is down, this is a time to remind yourself to be more patient, to be more compassionate. You may not have as much patience and you may be a little more irritable or reactive. So just reminding yourself to be patient, have compassion, have grace with yourself and with others. And then the intellectual cycle is just a time when it's below the baseline, it's a time where you may not process information as quickly and easily. I always give the example if you get to the grocery store and you're like, dang, why did I come here? So just write a list and don't try to remember because it's a time where your brain may not be processing as quickly and easily. But when your cycles are up, you're just on top of it, feeling amazing. So we are cyclical beings. We're not meant to be on 24/7. And this is just a reminder. So there's days where I'm like, I just don't, feel like I'm on top of it. And then I look at my biorhythm and I'm like, oh, makes sense. Okay, so let's do a quick look at after the So a lot moved. Now, what I was saying, when you take in all that vibration, it's kind of like shaking things loose. So what I've witnessed with these charts, especially people who come over time, is it'll shake things loose. So the next 1 to 2 charts look a little wonky, but then it starts to calibrate and like come into center. So let's look at, okay, so these are the two. Oh, love that. These are the two after the training. So root chakra is definitely imbalance, which is great. So what that tells me is you felt safe at the training and you felt supported because that was one of the questions that I said, like, and obviously this is just like a quick, like it was just a weekend, but we want to create that consistent feeling, like feeling supported consistently, feeling like nurtured consistently and not just like a, quick thing. So it looks like the sacral chakra actually went further out of balance. Hmm. That's interesting. So what I would say with this one is really check in to what feels good to you, what lights you up, what excites you, and let that be what guides you, and not what other people want you to do, not what other people will like or love. Like, because sometimes, like, okay, this our sacral chakra controls our zest for life. It also controls creativity, passion, pleasure. So making sure that the things that you are taking action on is what really lights you up and it's not external facing. So really, really check in with that one. And we can feel passionate about something, but our deeper why could be misplaced. And I'll give you an example. So when I started Sound Therapy Network, I wanted community. And one of the things my therapist said, and I'm paraphrasing, so if I mess this up, she says, like, you can't fill an emotional, well, I guess it's my business therapist and my other therapist. They both said two variations of this, but basically, you can't fill an emotional need with your business or even with your purpose because there's an unhealthy attachment to it. So I had like a really hard thing happen in my business, and I think I expected people to support me and be in my corner, like even in my business. And when they didn't, I felt resentful, but it's because I was thinking I was building community, but it's like these are clients that paid you to support them. So you, in reality, it sucks to say this, but in reality, you can't expect them to support you because they're paying you to support them. It's a crappy thing to say, but it's kind of like the reality of the situation. So I had to separate to a certain extent clients from friends, clients from personal relationships, because I was trying to fill an emotional need through my business. And that took a lot for me to realize and admit and work through. So, like, I'm still 1,000% passionate about my business, but the core of it is very different. And I'm not trying to fill a specific need. Now, that's why it's so important for practitioners to do that deep inner work, that shadow work as well, to really get to the core of our needs, because sometimes people need to feel of value and then they're trying to fill that need through their business, but that's where ego flares up. In the training, I mentioned how this woman said, oh, if someone comes to me, they'll never go to anyone else. She's operating an ego, not because she's a bad person, but probably because she's filling her need to feel of value, to feel worthy with her business. But that's a slippery slope that can cause a practitioner to operate an ego. And I think we all want to be of value, right? Of course, like we all want to be of value. We all want to feel appreciated and worthy. And we have to find that internally. And when we do it externally to others, them showing us that they appreciate us is like bonus. Does that make sense? Because if we need that for our confidence, if we need that for our self-worth, then our confidence and self-worth is fragile. It's so fragile. And a client choosing to go to someone else, a client being unhappy, a client not liking, the session will deeply impact us because we're too close, right? There's an unhealthy attachment. So care, right? Of course, we care about our businesses, our purposes, but we have to have healthy confidence, healthy self-worth. So if someone was like, I actually don't like Niajae's services, right? I'm not going to feel like I'm not worthy. I'm not going to feel like I'm a bad practitioner. When you have a healthy attachment to your business, to your purpose, you understand like, okay, like everyone has personal preference. Not everyone's going to like me. That doesn't mean that I'm a bad practitioner. That doesn't mean I'm not worthy. It doesn't mean that I suck, right? So there's a fine line and nuance that I don't think a lot of people talk about, but it's something that's so important because bad reviews or unhappy customers or disgruntled clients, like that's going to happen. People that just don't like you, it's going to happen, right? People that don't see your magic, don't see your gifts, don't understand your purpose, it's going to happen. But we have to be so grounded in who we are internally that the external is just bonus. The external doesn't shift or shape who we are internally. And that's a lot of work to get to that place, but that's being truly grounded in who you are, embodied and unshakable, right? If your self-worth is attached to something externally, that thing can be like shooken up and then you don't feel worthy. So knowing your self-worth, no matter what is going on in the world around you, that is grounded in who you truly are, not allowing something externally to depict who you are. So I know that was a lot. I know, I know that was a lot. So self-worth, let's see. So one really good thing is it definitely created some movement in the solar plexus, and the solar plexus did come over into the feminine. So I think it definitely helped move the energy, but also like helping you feel more confident and worthy. And I remember you saying after you did the sound bath, you felt more confident. So it's funny how that shift energetically even just showed up in like, real world. So I love that. Now, heart chakra is still stuck, still not coming over into the feminine. So definitely some deeper inner work to do there, but I'm guessing it has to do with your mom and, grief and things like that. But the throat chakra did move, and I think the training you definitely shared vulnerably. So it was creating movement in the throat chakra because you're expressing yourself, you're expressing what's on your heart. So I love that. And then the third eye, which was predominantly in the masculine, is now in the feminine. So that is like it created some inner trust, but now it looks like it's kind of just stuck in the feminine. So take an action on the things that you know to be true for you. And the crown chakra is now on the opposite side. So when crown chakra is stuck in the masculine, I think what that indicates is because like feminine energy is flow and allowing. So trusting yourself, take an action, right? Take an action on what you know to be true for you, and then allowing the magic to unfold. So take action and then allow the magic to unfold. All right, that is the reading. Let me know how. Oh, okay. She she's like, that was a great reading. Let me know how this lands. It was a lot of information. The good thing about having it on video is you can go back and listen to it again. Because when I do it live, I kind of just say everything and then you have to remember it. So it's actually good that you have the video so you can go back and refer to it and work on these things over time. All right. I hope that you found a ton of value in this. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how it landed. Let me know if you have any questions.